So, Houston Rockets season preview. Last year, they finished with a 17-55 record. They're 15th in the West, so the worst team in the West. They actually traded James Harden. I mean, that feels like so much longer ago. And they got the number two overall pick, which was massive for them because if their pick fell outside the top four, they'd have to give it to the Thunder. So to get the second overall pick after a year of tanking was massive for them. And they had a massive draft. They drafted 4 players in the first round. Jaylen Green at number 2. He's a 6'5" shooting guard with NBA score. He's an NBA ready scorer. In the summer league, he showed nice moves like step backs. He has a mid-range jump shot. He has a floater. He's also a good athlete and can get to the rim. He's a good shot creator. He also showed signs of playing in the pick and roll, getting to a spot. So I'd expect him to be a very good player in the long run. I think even this year he'll be a good scorer, someone who I could see averaging, upwards of 15 points a game. They also drafted Alperen Şengün at number 16, who I was a big fan of in Summer League in the games I watched him play. He's 6'9", 6'10", can play the power forward, can play the center position. He won the Turkish League MVP. He's a post player with lots of nice moves. He has a spin move he likes to go to. He has up and unders. He can really score on the post, but he's also shown potential of passing. He's a smart player. He's shown a bit of shooting potential and even shot creation at his size, which is very impressive. And he's also shown a bit of a handle. He can go off the dribble a little bit. He can pump fake and go. He looks like a very good offensive player and someone who could be a key piece for the Rockets going forwards. They also drafted Usman Guruba at number 23. He's a 6'8" big who's a super switchy and versatile defender. He's been compared to Draymond Green, which obviously, Draymond's way better, but that's sort of the mold defensively because he's 6'8" and he has a good athleticism and lots of potential. He's still a work in progress in offense, but, if you can get a jump shot down, maybe a bit of playmaking, that sort of thing. And then finally, Josh Christopher, who's a 6'4" guard who has a decent handle. He's more of a slasher, defender, athletic type. So, I think the Rockets had a really good draft. 4 first-round picks who could all recently play for them in Season 1 and who could all be future stars. Also, this offseason, they signed Daniel Theis to a 4-year, $32 million deal, which I thought was a bit strange. And they also lost Kelly Olynyk and a few minor players. But I think the big thing, the Rockets, the rebuilding was the draft, and I think they did very well there. If we look at potential starting lineup, it could be tricky with the Rockets just because they sort of have this thing like it's the youth versus the experience. They have vets like John Wall and Eric Gordon, whereas they have the young guys like Kevin Porter Jr. and they're rookies. So we'll see who starts. I think Wall will be the starting point guard. He averaged 20.5 points and 7 assists last season when he was healthy. And obviously his career has been derailed by injuries. He has 2 years, $91 million left. So I think the Rockets won't really have a chance to trade him, which could be unfortunate if they want to open up the backcourt to Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green. I think Wall, the best hope for him is he sort of remodels his game a bit like Derrick Rose did. He is a good playmaker, but he also does like to shoot a lot. So you'd hope that he leans more into being a playmaker with the young team and lets the young guys grow. You hope he can stay healthy, and you hope, maybe he can be a guy who can give them a little bit of shot creation, but is more focused on playmaking and just running the offense instead, taking shots away from Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green. So, we'll see with Wall. I don't think there's any chance that he rebuilds his value enough for them to trade him, but, hopefully he's not just killing these young guys with the amount of shots he takes. Kevin Porter Jr. averaged 16.5 points and 6 assists with Houston last year. Really showed some impressive stuff. He had a 50-point and 10 assist game against the Bucks, which was really impressive. He has some shot creation. He's a lefty who can shoot the three. He can shoot the mid-range. But he's also a very adept and good playmaker in pick and roll situations and things like that. So you'd hope that he can have the ball in his hands to keep developing to keep shooting and to keep playmaking. Then Jaylen Green, I already talked about him, but I think he has a good chance of winning Rookie of the Year, just with his scoring and the fact that I think he should be their priority. He is their priority long term. He's who they're building around, but short term, you hope he gets enough shots to win Rookie of the Year and he's able to fit in with the offense and get to show and develop what he can do. Kristen Wood, who's a player I'm a fan of, he averaged 21 points and 10 assists, 10 rebounds last year. He is a skilled big man who can shoot, he can set screens and roll to the rim, he can finish around the rim, he can post up a little bit. I also think he's a great pick and roll partner for Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green. I think this team does have some juice offensively between Wood and Porter Jr. and Green and even some of the older guys like John Wall. And I think if Wood keeps developing, he's still decently young. I think like 27 or something, though I could be wrong. I think he does fit well in that he can be a screen setter and a roller, but he can also be a spot up player or someone you just dump it into the post. So I think, I like Christian Wood and I like his fit with the young guys. Then the fifth starter, I could see it being Jae'Sean Tate. I could see it being someone else, but I've gone for Daniel Tice. They paid him the money, averaged 9.5 points and 5.5 rebounds. Sort of gives them a defensive presence. I think that's sort of what this team is missing, the defense. Plays hard. He's a decent screen setter. I don't think he'll mess too many things up. I think maybe not the long-term solution for this team at center, but someone who can be a decent play holder and play a role. Off the bench, Eric Gordon averaged 18 points a game last year when he was healthy. I think Gordon, he has aged, but I think there is some chance the Rockets are able to trade his $20 million because he is still a good shooter, which does provide value for good teams. It can provide value for the Rockets if they want someone who can space the floor off the bench. Most of his shots are just threes these days, so we'll see. Josh Christopher, I already talked about him. I heard this thing where he's going to try and be a defender, and I think if he can be a good defensive player, that is probably a good thing and a good way to earn minutes because with Porter Jr. and Green and Wood, this team does slant offensive heavy. Jae'Sean Tate averaged 11 points and 5 rebounds last year. I don't know too much about him. He was a rookie. He has a nice mentality. He hustles for loose balls, and I think he does have some skills. So we'll see. He could be the starter. He's still young. He can still grow. So I think he is part of the Rockets' long-term core. Kenyan Martin Jr. averaged 9 points and 5.5 rebounds last year. He's a great athlete. Dunks, lobs, all that stuff. He had a few impressive blocks. He does play hard too. I think this Rockets team has a good culture in terms of having young guys who are willing to work and willing to play hard. He's also, the shot is sort of a question mark. He shot 37% from 3 last year on 2 attempts a game. So if he can develop that, then I think that's definitely a way for him to get into the rotation and to be playing bigger minutes. And then Usman Guruba, I talked about him, defense. I think, he could be the long-term center for this team. Him and Wood in the front court, I think that's a nice offense-defense balance. We'll see how Gruba develops offensively. And then Alperen Şengün, I think if he's playing power forward or center, I think he has an advantage over his defender, because if he's playing center, I do believe he has a quickness advantage. He can space the floor. He can pump and go. And if he's playing power forward, he might have a size and strength advantage where he can get into the post and spin and twirl and go step through and finish around the rim. So I think I like Şengün. I think he could be in for a good rookie year and to make an impact right away. So that's sort of this team. They also have Daniel House and David Nwaba. So I think this Rockets team, we'll see if they're able to trade John Wall, Eric Gordon. I think Wall probably not, Gordon maybe. And we'll see how much they lean the young guys versus the vets, whether they put the trust in Kevin Porter Jr. or Jalen Green, or whether it's still John Wall and Eric Gordon playing heavy minutes. In terms of prediction, I think they're still young. I think they'll favor their young guys. So I'm going, maybe the 14 or 15 seed. It depends on if the Thunder are completely tanking or if they let Shea play. But I like this team's future long term between Kevin Porter Jr. and Jaylen Green and Kristen Wood, and also some of the rookies like Gruba and Sengun. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. Leave a like, subscribe to this channel for more NBA content, and I'll see you guys next time.